Assumed to be a man in armor revealed as a gorgeous alien girl with a voice modulator. Commander Neil Stone stood at attention in the briefing room of the Terran Special Operations Command Base, his muscular frame casting a long shadow. In the dim light, the holographic display showed their target, the massive alien vessel that had crash-landed on Proxima B, its hull stretching for kilometers across the rocky terrain. "This is a critical mission, Commander." General Harrison's growly voice filled the room. "That ship contains technology we desperately need. Intel suggests it's one of the ancient precursor vessels. If we can secure even a fraction of its data cores, it could change the course of the war." Neil nodded, his blue eyes fixed on the rotating hologram. "What's my team composition, sir?" "That's where things get interesting." The general manipulated the controls, bringing up another hologram. "You'll be working with a specialist, code name Phantom." A figure materialized in the display, a warrior in sleek gunmetal GRY armor that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The design was unlike anything Neil had seen before, even among the various alien allies Earth had acquired over the years. "Phantom is unique," the general continued. "Top-tier operative, perfect mission completion record. They'll be your partner for this operation." "With respect, sir, I work better alone," Neil objected, running a hand through his told blonde hair. "Not this time, Commander. The ship's defenses require Phantom's expertise. This is non-negotiable." Before Neil could protest further, the door hissed open. The armored figure from the hologram strode in, moving with an almost mechanical precision. The helmet's opaque visor revealed nothing of the face beneath, and when they spoke, the voice was a modulated monotone. "Commander Stone, I look forward to our cooperation." Neil studied his new partner, noting how the arm, while bulky, seemed to flow with each movement. Something about it struck him as oddly familiar, yet he couldn't quite place why. "Likewise," he replied curtly. "I assume you've been briefed." A simple nod was the only response. "Your drop window opens in 6 hours," the general interrupted. "Get your gear ready and familiarize yourselves with the operation parameters." Dismissed as they walked to the armory. Neil tried to engage his silent partner in conversation, but Phantom responded only in clipped mechanical phrases. Their movements were precise, efficient, exactly what he'd expect from an elite operative. The mission prep went smoothly, each of them checking their equipment with practiced ease. Neil couldn't help but notice how Phantom handled their weapons. There was an almost artistic quality to their movements, a grace that seemed at odds with the bulky armor. "You've worked with Terran forces before?" he asked, loading his pulse rifle. "Affirmative." "Care to elaborate?" "Negative. Mission parameters take priority." Neil sighed. This was going to be a long operation. The drop pod shuddered violently as it pierced the planet's atmosphere. Neil braced himself against the restraints, his eyes fixed on Phantom, who sat motionless across from him, the armored figure seemingly undisturbed by the turbulence. The massive alien vessel grew larger in the view screen, its ancient hull gleaming under the binary stars light. 30 seconds to impact, the pod's AI announced. Defensive systems detected. Evasive maneuvers initiated. The pod jerked sharply to avoid a burst of energy from the ship's automated defenses. Neil noticed how Phantom's hand briefly brushed against the weapon holstered at their hip, a gesture so fluid it seemed almost elegant. "Remember," Neil said through gritted teeth, "we need to reach the central data core. Intel suggests second AR objective." Phantom interrupted, their modulated voice carrying an unexpected note of authority. "Primary concern is the ship's quantum residence chamber. Without it, the data cores are worthless." Neil frowned. This wasn't in the briefing. Before he could question further, the pod slammed into the ship's outer hull, magnetic clamps engaging with a thunderous clang. The impact sent them lurching forward, and for a brief moment Phantom's armored form pressed against Neil. Despite the hard exterior, there was something unexpectedly yielding about the contact. Neil pushed the thought aside as they quickly detached from their restraints. "Breach point secure," Phantom announced, their modulated voice somehow softer than before. "Follow my lead, Commander." They moved through the ship's corridors like shadows, their footsteps silent despite their armor. Neil found himself studying Phantom's movements. There was a grace to them that seemed increasingly at odds with their mechanical persona. The way they navigated the space spoke of something more than just military precision. The ship's interior was a maze of crystalline structures, impulsing energy conduits. Holographic symbols flickered across surfaces, casting an ethereal glow that made Phantom's armor shimmer in ways that caught Neil's eye. "Your combat style," Neil whispered as they paused at an intersection. "It's not standard military. Where did you learn it?" Phantom's helmet turned slightly. "Some questions are better left unasked as Commander, and some answers might help me. Trust my partner more." A soft sound escaped Phantom's modulator, something almost like a laugh. "Trust isn't built on answers, Neil, it's built on actions." It was the first time Phantom had used his first name, and something about the way they said it made his pulse quicken. They encountered their first resistance at the quantum resonance chamber's outer security ring. The ship's defensive drones emerged from recessed panels, their weapon systems charging 8 hostiles, Neil reported, raising his pulse rifle. 9. Phantom corrected, their voice carrying an almost playful tone. "You missed the one above you." NEA looked up just in time to see Phantom leap over him, their armor suddenly seeming to flow like liquid metal as they twisted in midair. Their movement was too graceful, too fluid for someone wearing such heavy protection. He found himself momentarily mesmerized before snapping back to combat focus. They fought in perfect synchronization, as if they trained together for years. Phantom's combat style was mesmerizing, a deadly dance that seemed to defy physics. Every movement flowed into the next with an almost hypnotic grace. Neil found his attention divided between the threats and his mysterious partner. "Your left." Phantom called out, their voice carrying an unexpected warmth despite the modulation. Neil spun, dropping 2 drones with precise shots. As he turned back, he caught Phantom executing a move that no human in heavy armor should have been able to perform, a tick twist that ended with 3 drones reduced to sparking debris. The battle left them both breathing hard. The Phantom's respirator made it sound almost musical. They stood close, adrenaline coursing through their bodies, the air between them charged with something more than just combat tension that moved. Neil said, his voice husky. "That's not possible in standard combat armor." "Perhaps," Phantom replied, their helmet tilting slightly. "You should reconsider your assumptions about what's standard." The way they said it, even through the modulator, carried an undertone that made Neil's skin tingle before he could respond. The ship's defense systems kicked in, emergency bulkheads began slamming shut around them. "The resonance chamber," Phantom said urgently, "we need to move now." They sprinted through closing gaps, their movements perfectly coordinated. At the last doorway, Phantom pushed Neil through. As the bulkhead was descending, they rolled together, landing with Phantom on top of him. The contact lasted only seconds, but Neil felt something distinctly feminine in the way their bodies pressed together. "Sorry," Phantom said quickly, standing, but their voice held a note that suggested they weren't sorry at all. The resonance chamber was massive, its walls lined with crystalline structures that pulsed with otherworldly energy. As they approached the central console, an explosion rocked the ship. The blast knocked them off their feet and debris began raining down. "Take cover," Neil shouted, but Phantom was already moving. They grabbed him, pulling him into an alcove, their bodies pressed close in the confined space, and Neil became acutely aware of how Phantom's armor seemed to mold against him in ways that defied its apparent rigidity. "We're trapped," Neil said, trying to focus on the tactical situation rather than their proximity. "Not trapped," Phantom replied, their modulated voice carrying an unexpected warmth. "Just delayed." They shifted slightly, and Neil felt something distinctly soft press against his chest. His eyes widened as realization began to dawn. "Phantom," he started, his voice rough with sudden understanding. "Who are you really?" There was a pause filled only by the sound of their breathing and the distant rumble of the damaged ship. Then Phantom's hands moved to their helmets. "Release catches." "Perhaps," they said, their modulated voice carrying a smile. "It's time you found out." The helmet seals hissed as they disengaged. Neil held his breath, his heart pounding, as Phantom slowly lifted the helmet away. In the crystalline chamber's ethereal light, a cascade of silvery hair spilled out, framing a face that made his world stop. Golden eyes met his, glowing with an inner light that matched the chamber's pulse. Her skin was like moonlight given form, smooth and radiating a subtle luminescence. Her features were both alien and breathtaking, high cheekbones, slightly pointed ears, and lips that curved into a knowing smile. "You," Neil breathed, unable to form more words. "Didn't expect this." Her natural voice was like music, rich and melodious without the modulator mechanical filter. "I'm Katria of the Aseri, and yes, this armor is quite Deceiving by design, the bulky appearance of the suit suddenly made sense. It was engineered to hide her true form, to make her appear as just another male soldier, but now as if responding to its revealed secret. The armor seemed to shift its lines, becoming more elegant, accentuating rather than concealing. The Asari are supposed to be extinct, Neil said, still struggling to process the revelation. Your civilization vanished millennia ago, not extinct, Syria corrected, moving closer, hidden, watching, waiting for the right moment, the right person to trust. Her golden eyes searched his face. Your reputation preceded you, Commander Stone, your honor, your courage, your humanity. The air between them crackled with tension. Neil became acutely aware of how close they were in the alcove, how her armor now seemed to highlight every curve it had previously concealed. The way she moved, even in the confined space, was pure grace. The mission he started, trying to maintain professional focus despite the warmth radiating from her, is exactly what I said it was, she finished, but perhaps with a deeper purpose than your superiors understood. Her hand came up to touch his face, her armored gauntlet retracting smoothly to reveal fingers that were elegant and strong. Some secrets are worth protecting, others, her voice softened, are worth sharing with the right person. Neil caught her hand, holding it against his cheek. The contact sent electricity through him. Why me? Because you see beyond surface appearances, because you questioned but never doubted, because she moved even closer, her breath warm against his lips. In all my centuries of watching humanity, I've never met anyone quite like you. The kiss, when it came, was both inevitable and surprising. Her lips were soft, tasting of stardust and mystery. Neil pulled her closer, the armor between them somehow becoming more yielding, more intimate, her fingers tangled in his hair as the kiss deepened, carrying the weight of centuries of isolation and newfound trust. When they finally parted, her golden eyes were glowing brighter. We still have a mission to complete, she whispered, but made no move to pull away. And after, Neil asked, his voice rough with emotion. Her smile was radiant. After, Commander Stone, we have secrets to explore, truths to uncover. She traced his jaw with one finger, and perhaps some very human conditions to investigate. The ship shuddered around them, bringing them back to the urgency of their situation. Katria's armor reconfigured, subtly maintaining its new, more graceful form, while still providing full protection. She didn't replace her helmet, instead letting her silver hair flow freely. The resonance chamber, Neil said, forcing himself to focus despite how her presence kept drawing his attention. You said it was the primary objective because it's not just a power source, Katra explained, moving to the central console with fluid grace. Her fingers danced across the crystalline controls, making them pulse with light. It's a key to understanding how my people merge technology with consciousness, something humanity is nearly ready to grasp. Neil watched her work, mesmerized by how her movements seemed to flow like liquid starlight. Your people were that advanced, she glanced at him, golden eyes twinkling. We still are, though I must admit humans have other advantages that fascinate us. The way she said it made his skin tingle. Your adaptability, your passion, your capacity for connection, they're quite remarkable. The console responded to her touch, projecting complex holographic patterns into the air. Neil moved closer, instinctively placing a hand at the small of her back. Even through the armor he felt her lean into his touch. The ship's defense systems are adapting, she said, though her voice carried a hint of distraction. We have minutes before they breach this chamber. The residence core needs to be extracted carefully, or an explosion rocked the chamber, cutting her off. Neil pulled her close, shielding her. Despite knowing her armor was probably more advanced than anything Earth had developed, she allowed it, pressing against him in a way that sent heat through his body. Or that happens, she finished, a smile in her voice. Your protective instincts are charming, Commander, but perhaps we should focus on surviving first, then we can explore your other admirable qualities. The way she mixed professional competence with flirtatious undertones was intoxicating. They worked together to secure the residence core, their movements in perfect sync. Every brush of contact, every shared glance built the tension between them. Tell me something, Neil said, as they prepared to extract the core. Was all that grace in combat necessary, or were you showing off? Katria's laugh was like chimes in a stellar wind. A warrior can't appreciate artistry in battle. She executed a completely unnecessary but Stunning spin as she disabled another security measure, though I might have been trying to catch someone's attention. It worked, Neil admitted, his eyes following her movements, though I'm starting to think everything about you was designed to catch attention, just subtlety is an art, she replied. Her golden eyes gleaming like how you've been watching me since we met, trying to solve the puzzle. I noticed every glance. Every moment of curiosity. Her fingers traced patterns across the crystalline console, each movement deliberate and graceful. It was, entertaining. The core began to pulse with increasing intensity as they worked to extract at the chambers as light painted iridescent patterns across her silvery hair, making her seem almost real. Neil found himself constantly distracted by how the supposedly rigid armor now emphasized every elegant movement. The Ari were always watchers of humanity, she continued, her voice taking on a more serious tone. We saw your potential, your resilience, but we needed to be sure. Before making contact, she paused, looking at him intently. Individual connections sometimes prove more valuable than official diplomatic channels. Another explosion rocked the ship closer. This time Katria moved with liquid grace to stabilize the extraction process, her body brushing against Neil's in a way that seemed both accidental and deliberate. And this connection, Neil asked, helping her secure the final locks on the resident core. Is it diplomatic or personal? She turned to face him close enough that he could see flexes of silver in her golden eyes. Can it be both? Her armored hand found his fingers intertwining with surprising warmth. My people believe in the power of genuine bonds. They transcend political objectives. The core came free with a soft chime, its glow matching the color of Katria's eyes. She secured it in a containment field that seemed to emerge from her armor itself, the technology far beyond anything Neil had seen. We have what we came for, she said, but made no move to step away from him. Though I find myself reluctant to end this particular phase of the mission. Who says it has to end? Neil replied, drawing her closer. The ship's warnings blared around them, but in that moment the danger seemed secondary to the electricity between them. The ship's defense systems are converging, Katria said, though her eyes remain locked with his. We have multiple hostile units approaching, and yet her free hand traced the line of his jaw. I find human priorities surprisingly contagious. The moment was broken by a barrage of weapons fire hitting the chambers as outer doors. They sprang into action, but their movements now carried an intimate synchronization that hadn't existed before. Each motion complemented the others, their combat dance taking on new meaning. The extraction point is 3 levels up, Neil said, checking his tactical display, but the primary routes are sealed. Katria's smile turned mischievous. Who said anything about primary routes? Her armor shifted, revealing previously hidden mechanisms. My people built this ship. We always include alternative paths. She pressed her hand against a seemingly solid wall, and crystalline patterns spread from her touch. A hidden passage materialized, bathed in the same golden light as her eyes. Ladies first, Neil gestured with a playful smirk. Such human chivalry, she laughed, the sound making his heart race. But though I suspect you have other motives for wanting to watch me lead. As they navigated the secret passage, Neil found himself captivated by how her armor now seemed to flow like liquid metal, each movement a study in grace. The hidden route twisted upward through the ship's structure, revealing glimpses of ancient Storie technology that made Earth's most advanced systems look primitive. Your people, Neil said as they climbed. They've been watching us all this time, watching, protecting, occasionally intervening. She paused at a junction, turning to face him. We needed to understand if humanity was ready for what we could offer, not just technologically but emotionally, spiritually. And what's the verdict? Her golden eyes softened. Some humans have already proven themselves more than ready. The way she looked at him carried weight beyond words. Your species has a capacity for connection that even my people find remarkable. You form bonds that transcend logic, protocols, even species barriers. Speaking of protocols, Neil said as they climbed higher, I'm pretty sure fraternizing with an alien species wasn't covered in the mission briefing. Katria's laugh echoed through the passage. And here I thought humans prided themselves on improvisation. She helped him over a particularly challenging section, her strength belling her elegant form. Beside some of the most significant advances in galactic history came from Unexpected partnerships, they emerged into a vast chamber filled with swirling energy patterns. The residence core in K containment field pulsed in harmony with the surrounding energies, creating a breathtaking light show that reflected in her golden eyes. We have incoming, Neil warned, checking his sensors. Lots of them. Then perhaps it's time to show you what a Storie battle armor can really do. Her suit began to shimmer, the previously rigid plates flowing like quicksilver. Care to dance, Commander? The ensuing battle was unlike anything Neil had ever experienced. They moved together in perfect synchronization, her graceful combat style complementing his more direct approach. Every time their bodies pressed together in combat, the contact sent electricity through him. The way she fought was both lethal and beautiful. Each movement precise yet sensual. You're showing off again, he called out as she executed a particularly elaborate maneuver. Perhaps, she replied, her voice playful despite the intensity of combat. Is it working? Their eyes met across the chaos of battle, and the connection between them deepened. This was more than just physical attraction or tactical cooperation. It was something that transcended both their species' expectations. As they finally reached the extraction point, Katria paused. Neil, she said, her voice soft but urgent, what happens after this mission? It's not in any protocol. My people are ready to emerge from hiding, but the way forward isn't clear. Except that I've never been more certain about an individual connection. She moved closer, her armor shifting to allow more direct contact. Sometimes the best path forward isn't the one that's planned. The extraction ship was minutes away. Around them the ancient vessel systems were failing, creating a light show that painted their armor in shifting patterns. Neil pulled her close, their foreheads touching. Then let's improvise, he whispered. The extraction point revealed a scene that made Neil's heart sink. Their escape vessel hung suspended in the docking bay, its hull scarred by the ancient ship's defense systems. Crystalline spears of energy had pierced the engine housing, leaving the craft dead in space. Well, Katria said, her golden eyes assessing the damage. This is going to require a more intimate approach to problem solving. The way she said intimate made Neil's pulse quicken. The main power coupling is completely severed, he noted, trying to maintain professional focus despite her proximity. We'll need to rewire the entire system. Katria's armor shifted, becoming more form-fitting as she moved to examine the damage. A Storie technology can interface with your systems, but it requires close contact. She glanced at him, a knowing smile playing across her lips. Very close contact. The confined space of the engine compartment forced them to work in extremely close quarters. Every movement brought them into contact, each touch sending electricity through their bodies that had nothing to do with the ship's systems. Your engineering skills are impressive, Katria observed as Neil expertly reconnected a series of complex circuits. Most humans wouldn't understand the star power configurations so quickly. And your armor's ability to interface with our technology is remarkable, he replied, watching as tendrils of her suit extended into the ship's systems, creating connections that defied conventional physics. Their bodies pressed together in the tight space, her back against his chest as they worked. The armor responds to emotional states as much as conscious commands, she explained, her voice soft. Right now it's very responsive. The suit rippled slightly where it touched him, its surface warm and almost liquid. The engine compartment was filled with the soft glow of both the ship's emergency light and Katria's natural luminescence. Her silver hair brushed against his face as they maneuvered around each other, carrying a scent like star dust and morning dew. Every movement was a dance of technical precision and growing desire. These connections need to be synchronized, Syria said, guiding his hands to specific points in the system. Human touch has unique properties that can enhance the integration. Her fingers intertwined with his, showing him how to merge the technologies. The contact sent waves of warmth through both of them. Is that an RE technical specification? Noel asked, his voice rough, or personal preference? Her laugh was like wind chimes and zero gravity. Perhaps both. My people have always been fascinated by human passion. Your ability to channel emotion into action is intoxicating. She turned within the confined space, facing him. Your heart rate is elevated, Commander. Is that from the technical challenge or something else? The close quarters left them pressed together, her armor continuing to shift and adapt to their proximity. Neil could feel the warmth of her body through the seemingly solid barrier, which now felt more like a second skin than protective gear. "You've been testing my reaction since we met," he realized, reaching up to brush a strand of silver hair from her face. "Every movement, every gesture, studying human responses is part of my mission," she admitted, her golden eyes glowing brighter. "Though I must admit my research has become decidedly more personal." Her hand traced the line of his jaw, her touch sending shivers through him. The ship's systems hummed around them, responding to the growing energy between them. Katria's armor began to pulse with patterns that matched his heartbeat, creating a visual display of their synchronization. "The power coupling is almost complete," she whispered, though neither of them was looking at the engine anymore. "But there are other connections that need exploring." Their first kiss in this confined space was different from their earlier encounter, more urgent, more knowing. Her armor responded to their passion, becoming almost fluid ere they touched, allowing them to feel each other more directly, while still maintaining its protective function. "Your suit," Neil managed between kisses. "It's not just armor, is it? It's a bridge," Katri explained, her breath warm against slips between our species, between technology and emotion, between duty and desire. Her fingers traced patterns on his chest that left trails of tingling energy. "Right now is helping me experience human sensation in ways my people never imagined possible." The engine compartment systems began to power up around them, responding to their combined energy. Displays flickered to life, showing readouts in both human and Oster script, but neither of them paid attention to the technical success, too lost in their own private universe of discovery. The ship's artificial gravity fluctuated momentarily, making them float slightly before settling back. The brief weightlessness only intensified their connection, Katria's armor adapting to keep them anchored together. "Your people's technology," Neil said, his hands tracing the now fluid contours of her suit. "It responds to emotional states." "What is it sensing now?" Katria's golden eyes seemed to glow from within, matching the pulsing patterns that ran across her armor's surface. "Desire, trust. Something deeper that has no translation in human languages." Her fingers found the neural interface points of his combat suit. "Would you like me to show you?" When he nodded, her armor extended tendrils that interfaced with his suit's systems. Suddenly he could feel what she felt, the electric thrill of their contact, the fascinating alienness of human passion through her perception, the deep wonder at their growing connection. "This is how my people share experiences," she whispered, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate in his bones, every sensation, every emotion amplified and shared. The engine compartment had become their own private universe, the soft hum of machinery providing a backdrop to their exploration of each other. Katria's armor continued to shift and flow, sometimes nearly transparent, sometimes opaque, always responding to their shared emotional state. "Your heart rate, your neural patterns," she observed, trailing fingers down his chest that left paths of tingling energy. "They're synchronizing with mine." This level of compatibility, it's unprecedented. The ship systems continued to power up around them, responding to their combined energy signature. Displays showed increasing power levels as their technologies merged, but neither paid much attention to the technical readings. "Is this why you chose this form of contact?" Neil asked, his voice rough with emotion. "To study human responses." Her laugh was like Geller wind through crystal. "I chose nothing. This connection, it chose us." She pressed closer, her armor becoming almost gossamer or thin. "Where they touched, my people have observed humanity for centuries but never dared to interact this intimately. We feared our differences were too great, and now I understand why the ship systems responded so strongly to our presence." Her golden eyes met his, filled with wonder. "We're proving that the greatest advances come not from technical precision but from emotional resonance." Their shared consciousness expanded, allowing Neil to experience fragments of her centuries of existence. The lonely watching the fascination with human emotion, the growing desire to bridge the gap between their species. In return, she felt his lifetime of military discipline giving way to something deeper, more primal, more real. The engine's power levels continued to rise, matching the intensity of their connection. Emergency lighting shifted to full power, bathing them in a soft golden glow that matched Katria's eyes. Her silver hair seemed to float in an invisible current, carrying Traces of bioluminescence that responded to their shared emotional state. Your people. Neil managed his voice thick with sensation. They engineered this technology to facilitate connection. We engineered it to protect ourselves. She corrected her fingers, tracing patterns on his skin that left trails of light. But with humans it's evolving beyond its original purpose. Like us, the ship's systems surged with renewed energy, responding to their combined biometric signatures. Displays flickered with increasing power readings as their shared consciousness expanded, merging human determination with a star technology in ways neither species had imagined possible. The repairs are almost complete, Ketria murmured, though her focus remained on their connection rather than the technical readouts. But there's something else happening, something unprecedented. The armor between them had become almost ethereal, maintaining its protective function while allowing an intimacy that transcended physical contact. Every touch carried cascades of shared sensation, their neural pattern synchronizing in perfect harmony. Your combat data showed exceptional performance, Neil said, his hands tracing the flowing patterns on her suit. But this is beyond any tactical advantage. The armor adapts to necessity, she explained, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate with the ship systems. Right now its primary function is facilitating our connection. My people never anticipated this level of compatibility with humans. Their shared consciousness expanded further, allowing them to experience each other's perspectives simultaneously. Neil felt the centuries of solitary observation through her memories, the fascination with human emotion, the growing desire to bridge the gap between their species. Katria experienced his lifetime of military discipline transformed by their encounter, his structured worldview expanding to embrace possibilities beyond Earth's limited understanding. The engine comp department hummed with increasing power as their technologies merged more completely. Emergency systems shifted to full capacity, surrounding them with a golden radiance that matched Katria's eyes. Her silver hair carried traces of bioluminescence that pulsed in rhythm with their shared heartbeat. The ships responding to us, Neil observed, noting how the ancient system seemed to recognize their unique connection. This goes beyond simple repairs. My people built these vessels to be semi-sent. Katria confirmed, her fingers leaving trails of light where they touched his skin. They recognize patterns of compatibility, of potential. What we're creating here, it's something the ship systems consider optimal. Their intimacy deepened as the repairs neared completion, each movement carrying layers of shared sensation and understanding. The barrier between species seemed to dissolve, replaced by a connection that transcended biological differences. The final power coupling engaged with a surge of energy that matched their own intensity. Displays confirmed full system restoration, but neither of them moved a separate. The confined space had become their sanctuary, a pocket universe where human passion and a star technology created something entirely new. Your mission parameters, Neil said softly, his fingers tangled in her starlight hair. Did they include this possibility? Katria's laugh carried harmonics that made the ship's crystals sing. My people are masters of observation but poor predictors of emotional outcomes. This connection, she pressed closer, her armor shifting to accommodate their proximity. This was never in any protocol. The completed repairs hummed around them, systems fully restored and enhanced by their unique interaction, but they remained entwined, neither willing to break the connection that had formed in this intimate space. We should prepare for departure, Katria finally whispered, though she made no move to disengage. Though I find myself reluctant to end this particular phase of our mission. Who says it has to end? Neil replied, echoing their earlier conversation. Some connections transcend mission parameters. Her golden eyes glowed with increased intensity. Indeed, perhaps it's time my people reconsidered their policy of non-interference, starting with this particular not cultural exchange. The extraction vessel hummed with the combined energies of human and Ari technology as they began their journey back to Earth. The resonant core pulsed in its containment field, its golden light matching the glow in Katria's eyes. Her armor had permanently adapted to their shared neural patterns, no longer attempting to maintain its earlier bulky masculine appearance. The core's energy signature is changing. Katria observed, her fingers dancing across the crystalline controls. It's responding to our connection in ways my people never predicted. Neil watched As patterns of light flowed across her armor matching his heartbeat, the neural link between them had deepened, allowing him to sense her thoughts and emotions with increasing clarity. Is this why the Asari chose this particular mission for FirstContact? Partly, she admitted, turning to face him. Her silver hair floated in the ship's artificial gravity, carrying traces of bioluminescence that responded to their shared emotional state. We knew the resonance core would catalyze certain changes, but the depth of our compatibility. She moved closer, her armor shifting to accommodate their proximity. This goes beyond any projected outcome. The ship's systems continue to evolve around them, human technology merging with Storie innovations in ways that reflected their own deepening bond. Every touch carried cascades of shared sensation, their consciousness expanding to encompass both individual and unified experiences. Their neural connection allowed Neil to experience Catria's centuries of existence while sharing his own lifetime of human experiences. The resonance core's energy amplified their bond, creating a feedback loop of sensation and understanding that transcended both species' normal limitations. Your people's technology, Neil said, drawing her closer. As the ship navigated through hyperspace, it's not just adapting to us, it's evolving. Catria's law carried harmonics that made the ship's crystals sing like us. The armor now serves as more than protection, it's become a bridge between our species, a physical manifestation of our connection. Her fingers traced patterns on his chest that left trails of tingling energy. Each touch, each shared thought creates new neural pathways. The cockpit's displays showed their approach to the solar system, but the technical data seemed secondary to the intimate universe they'd created. Catria's armor had become almost fluid ere they touched, maintaining its protective function while allowing unprecedented levels of contact. The mission briefing. Neil smiled, his hands following the now graceful contours of her suit. Definitely didn't cover this possibility. My people are masters of observation, Catria replied, her golden eyes glowing brighter. But even we couldn't predict how human passion would transform our technology. The resonance core's energy signature has completely realigned to match our combined neural patterns. Their shared consciousness expanded further as Earth appeared on the main display. Through their connection, Neil felt Catria wonder at seeing his home world through human eyes, while she experienced his pride and protectiveness toward his planet. They'll have questions, he said, though his tone carried no worry of both your people and mine. Let them question. Catria whispered, pressing closer. What we've discovered here goes beyond political concerns. The Resonance Corp proves that our species are meant to connect this way. The ship systems hummed in harmony with their shared emotional state as they began their descent. The core's energy had permanently altered both Catria's armor and Neil's neural architecture, creating something entirely new, a perfect synthesis of human and Ari potential. Your armor, Neil observed, feeling the way it pulsed with their combined life signs. It's recording everything, isn't it, for your people's archives? It's recording something far more important than technical data, she replied, her voice carrying undertones that resonated through their bond. It's documenting the first true merger of our species, not just physically but emotionally, spiritually. As they approached the landing zone at Tehran, Special Operations Command, their shared consciousness allowed them to prepare for the debriefing as one. Through their connection they could anticipate and address every possible concern their superiors might raise. The landing bays massive doors parted as their ship descended, its hybrid systems humming with perfectly synchronized human and Ari energy signatures. Through their shared consciousness Neil could feel Catria's anticipation mixing with his own calm confidence. General Harrison's expression should be interesting, Neil said as they completed the landing sequence. He's not exactly known for handling surprises well. Catria's armor shifted briefly, a doped up in its original masculine appearance before flowing back into its true form. Perhaps a gradual revelation would be wise. Her golden eyes sparkled with mischief, though I must admit I've grown rather fond of surprising humans. The debriefing room was filled with high-ranking officers when they entered. General Harrison stood at the head of the table, his stern features softening slightly at the sight of Neil. Then his eyes fell on Catria and his jaw dropped. Commander Stone, he managed your miss partner appears to have changed. Actually, sir, Neil replied, feeling Catria's amusement through their bond. This is her true form, the masculine Appearance was a tactical necessity that's no longer required. The resonance core pulsed gently in its containment. Field as Cross stepped forward, her armor now proudly displaying its elegant Ari design. I am Katria of the Ari High Council, she announced, her natural voice carrying harmonics that made the room's crystals hum, and we have much to discuss about the future of human-Ari relations. Over the next hour they presented their findings. The resonance core's energy had not only enhanced their personal connection but had proven that humans in Ari could achieve unprecedented levels of technological and biological synchronization. Their bond had unlocked potentials in both species that neither had imagined possible. The implications are extraordinary, one of the scientists exclaimed he, examining the data streaming from Katri armor. This level of neural compatibility, it completely changes our understanding of interspecies relations. It changes everything. Katria agreed, her hand finding Neil's. Through their link, waves of shared emotion flowed between them. My people have watched humanity for centuries, waiting for the right moment to initiate contact. We never imagined that moment would lead to this. And the meeting continued as they explained how their connection had enhanced the mission's success, how their combined abilities had overcome challenges that neither species could have handled alone. The resonance core's energy had catalyzed something revolutionary, a perfect merger of human passion and a Storie technology. This goes beyond military applications, General Harrison said, studying the holographic displays of their neural synchronization. What you've discovered could revolutionize human-alien relations entirely. Through their bond, Neil felt Katria's satisfaction at the general's understanding. Her armor rippled slightly, displaying patterns that matched their shared emotional state. The resonance core's energy had permanently altered both of them, or creating something unprecedented, a bridge between species that transcended physical boundaries. The Estar High Council has authorized me to begin official diplomatic relations. Katri announced, her golden eyes bright with purpose, starting with a permanently Ison position here on Earth. Her glance at Neil carried layers of meaning that made the neural link between them pulse with increased intensity. And Commander Stone Harrison asked, though his knowing smile suggested he already understood, we be essential to the integration process. Katria replied, her fingers intertwining with Neil's. Our connection has proven that humans and Ari can achieve perfect synchronization. The resonance core's energy signature confirms that this was always meant to be possible. After the debriefing they stood together on the observation deck, watching Earth's sunset paint the sky in colors that reminded Neil of Katria's armor. Through their shared consciousness he experienced her wonder at seeing his world to their combined perspectives. Your people took a significant risk, he said, drawing her closer, sending you alone to make a first contact this way. Her laugh carried harmonics that made the deck's crystal panel sing. Not alone, she corrected, her armor flowing like liquid starlight. Where they touched they sent me to find the right partner, someone who could see beyond appearances, who could handle the truth of what we are. The resonance core's energy had permanently bonded them, creating neural pathways that allowed them to share not just thoughts and sensations but entire lifetimes of experience. Every touch carried cascades of shared memory and emotion, their connection deepening with each moment. And now, Neil asked, though their link already let him feel her answer, now we build something new. Katria whispered, her golden eyes meeting his blue ones. Something neither of our species could achieve alone. Her armor shifted, becoming almost ethereal. Where they touched the resonance core proved what my people long suspected, that human passion combined with the starry technology could create something extraordinary. The sunset faded into twilight, Earth's lights beginning to sparkle below them like a mirror of the stars above. Through their bond they shared the beauty of the moment from both human and a star perspective. Their consciousness merged, yet individual, unified yet unique. Your armor, Neil observed, feeling the way it pulsed with their combined life signs. It's recording this moment for your people's archives, isn't it? It's recording something far more important, she replied, her voice carrying undertones that resonated through their connection. It's documenting the beginning of a new era, one where the boundaries between our species fade, where connection transcends physical form. Their shared consciousness expanded to encompass the promise of the future they would build together. The resonance core's energy had transformed them both. creating something that would change both their worlds forever, a perfect synthesis of human determination and a starry wisdom of passion and technology of heart and mind.